load up my YouTube so I can watch.
All right. Make sure this is all good.
Just got a notification. Oh.
Alright, let's see. SpaceManBTC. Alright. I'm gonna tweet right now and then I can send it to you. Well, I'll tag you in it.
Yeah. I like the video. Yeah.
Alright, I just tweeted it and tagged you, and I'm gonna put it in my Telegram. Alright. I think we got it.
I just retweeted it as well.
Okay, perfect. All right, what is going on? We can hear you, saw the tweet. Okay, glad to hear the sound is working. Can you guys hear Spaceman as well?
Hey guys.
I can also put some lo-fi on in the background because everyone always loves that. Try to make it not too loud though. Alright. Can you guys hear the background music? Is that a good volume? What's up, Rolly Diaz, Maxime, HVAC, Neon, Jamie Smith, what's good? Sam Mason, Brennan. It's good to be back with you guys. I, as you know, had COVID and so wasn't streaming for a couple weeks, and then last week we just had those recorded videos, so I'm excited to get back into streaming, get back into the usual schedule. We got a lot to talk about as well, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and today will be a fun stream with Spaceman. He's got a lot of sweet indicators. He's one of the best indicator makers in the game. I like his levels indicator that I have here, and then also the market profile. I still got to learn the footprint stuff. I think that can be helpful with me, especially, or helpful for me, especially when I'm trading like sweeps and stuff like that. But I will let him dive into all that shortly. What's up, Mark? What's up, Mike? Silver Static, Dominic, Peter, Sebastian, Derek, Soren. Good to see you guys all here. We'll give people a couple minutes to hop in, and then we will get started. Spaceman, how you doing today, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. A little bit nervous because, you know, first stream and all, but it should be fun. It should be exciting. Looking forward to showing everyone my stuff, and looking forward to watching you stream. To be honest, I tune in on my own anyway, so it's cool to be taking part for once.
Yeah, I'm excited. It should be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sweet Flea says the background music is a little loud. I just turned it down, and Henry said that, so let me know if it's better now or if I should turn it down even a little bit more. So let me know on that. I can turn it down a little more if I have to. I know in the video I posted last week, the music was a bit loud, so it's good to have the immediate feedback to make sure that it works well. Spaceman OP, I agree. What's up, Neon? You know, Spaceman, you've been able to do some stuff that I haven't, or none of us have seen other people do, like accurate market profile on TradingView and footprint. Like it's been pretty cool to see.
Thank you. It's weird to say that it for me it wasn't so much the code that was difficult. It was wrapping my head around the logic.
Yeah.
And I think once I got that down, it was like, okay, I've got coding experience for years now. So it was just getting that logic done, planning it a little bit, thinking it through, and just going for it. So I'm glad everyone received it well. That was not really my goal. The initial goal was to kind of make myself some tools that I would find useful and then make some algos with them. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, oh wait, people have kind of wanted this themselves. Maybe I could just like release it and see what they think. So right. I'm really glad that people like it.
That's good to hear. Okay, we got 70 people in here. I'm sure some more will filter in. People probably some of the usuals probably forgot when I streamed because it has been like 3 weeks. Okay, music's good now. Cause, how can I get link of Discord? I don't have a Discord. Spaceman does though. So if that's the Discord you're talking about, it is in his Twitter bio.
I'll send it here. Actually.
Yeah, you can post it there.
That should work for everyone to join with.
That'll be a good way to get it started. All of them? Oh, the best Spaceman indicator of all time. I guess it depends what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. If it's my opinion, I'm gonna go with. I know this is controversial because my market profile is probably like the most staple thing that I have out right now. But I'm gonna go with footprints because it might just be just recency bias, but I had this. So I made market profile. It helped me become a better trader, and then I made footprints, and it basically helped me close some of the gap that I was just struggling with a lot. So right now I'm just like, hey, this works great, awesome. So I think recency bias might be part of it, but currently I like the footprints.
Right. All right, I like it. We're getting a couple questions about how do you read a footprint chart, what's market profile, but we will jump into that in about 15 minutes or so if you guys can wait just a little. I'm gonna quickly give an overview of my views on Bitcoin. We're going to talk about trade setups I'm looking for, I guess overall general views, kind of do like a top-down analysis type of thing, and I think we'll probably just look at Bitcoin today for the sake of time. I want to give that just do like a deep dive into Bitcoin and then let Spaceman kind of take over from there. Because I mean, as you guys know, the rest of the market's kind of dictated by what Bitcoin does. So I think, like I said, for the sake of time, we'll just go into that. But before I get started, quickly want to give a shout out to the two sponsors of these streams, Zort and Bybit. The Zort account that I set up about 2 weeks ago is up around 8 or 9% right now, so it's doing really well. We'll continue to track that on the streams. And then Bybit, I don't know if you guys heard, but FTX just got hit with some KYC stuff. I think every single account. And so Bybit's pretty much the last reliable platform, in my opinion, if you don't want a KYC. If you do, then you have more options. But KYC or not, I think Bybit's one of the best derivatives trading platforms. So with that being said, let us jump into the Bitcoin analysis. So starting off from the weekly time frame, as you guys know, we had that big dump from 60, consolidate for a while, and now we're getting a really nice bounce, but we're coming up into this key resistance here. We have a weekly level at around 49K, and then if we zoom in a bit more, you can see that this is kind of, I guess you could call it like a struggle area, 2-day supply right here if we're looking at the 2-day chart, and that's kind of what we are into right now. We also have this SR level, which I believe is the weekly. Yeah, we've got this weekly SR right here. And then I think this is a pretty important level as well. And we're pushing up into both of those. I don't know if you guys saw my tweet, but I was talking with CBS, Cold Blood Shill. And we were talking about the daily divergence that we have up here. So we still kind of have that, consistently making lower highs on the RSI, higher highs on the price. I'm no RSI wizard, but that's why I did consult CBS on Twitter, because he is the go-to guy for RSI stuff. So we've got bearish divs coming up into 2 key SR levels. As you guys can tell, this was kind of like the floor before our breakdown. It's where we had this final bounce up here to make our lower high. And then it's also where we stalled for a little bit during this dump. So took out this low, there was some buying in here, and then we ended up dumping from 50 down to 30. So this was kind of the last line of support before the dump, and now I would say it's the most obvious resistance on the chart. What's up, Trader Main? Good to see you, man. Your streams have been awesome recently. So if we zoom in a little more, I mean, same time frame, but get a little deeper into it. This is last week's high. We can talk about that when we look at the levels indicator shortly. But then yesterday we closed this daily candle, sweeping that high into this SR level. And also, it's a sweep into supply. So this is our, wow, I don't know why we're using this color. This was our last bit of buying before the dump, so this is our daily supply. We just got a sweep into supply. That's a pretty textbook short opportunity for me. I haven't taken a short yet, but I have sold some spot in this region because it is pretty much that last line of defense for the bears. You know, I would rather sell spot and hedge up here and then just buy back in a little higher if we do something like this, instead of just stressing out this whole time hoping that resistance would break. I would rather take some profit. If you guys have been watching the streams, we bought spot right here and have been holding on to that basically since then. I sold a little here when we were at range highs, but then added back on when we flipped it, and I'm doing the same thing here basically. Sell here and add back on if we flip this level. I'm pretty much going to like full bull mode if we get above this 49 to 51 kind of area. I can't really define it with one line, but I would want to see us with a break above it and then consolidate above it for a bit to show that we've kind of like flipped this level, and then I would want to be fully invested, full bull mode, aping a bunch of alts. Like that's when things can kind of go crazy. If I had to guess though, I would think this is coming back down for a little bit, and then I don't know if it just goes to 42, if it goes to 40, or if it just goes to like 45 here. But whatever the case, I do think we either pull back a bit and consolidate, just because like we've literally been going straight up, and now we are at that very key resistance. And we just swept a weekly high. We SFP'd, if you want to call it that, right into this resistance and the supply. So it's like everything is lining up that this is looking like a legit correction. So now, if that makes sense to everybody, we'll zoom in a little bit and kind of talk about what we're looking to do here. What's up, Simon, Shiva, Pablo? Most who don't KYC probably don't withdraw to banks. Yeah, probably not. Sorry, just catching up with the chat briefly. Okay, it does kind of look like distribution. I mean, we're getting some consolidation here. Take out the high, break back within that. But we are sitting on support right now. So I wouldn't want to just enter a short right now just because this daily picture looks rough. Unless you just want to take a swing short or something like that to hedge some of your spot. I think you wait for the daily close, and then you could do that. I think playing it safe has your stop loss above here. If you want to play it a little tighter, you can put it at the sweep, but I think it is possible this does come up and sweep again, but we'll talk about that. And then I think you'd be looking for a setup, something like this, targeting these equal lows and then this previous Monday's low that is untapped. So I think you could enter that on the daily close, but since I have already kind of hedged by selling some spot, I don't think I will be taking that trade. Instead, I would be looking for some kind of a short on a push up to here and then look to trail it down. So this high that we were talking about earlier, we swept it, came under, retested it, and now we're breaking down. Whether you use wicks or candle closes, I would call this, or I guess either way, you would call this a break in market structure. Like here where the candle closes, here's the wick. We broke below it, and now we'd basically look for a bounce to fade. Maybe we'll get a pump at the beginning of tomorrow's daily candle in an hour and 40 minutes, because usually those moves get faded, so that would line up really well. But there's a lot of confluence in this area. So from over here, we have the bottom of that daily supply. We have the weekly open in this, whatever color that is, bluish green at 49.3K. We have weekly SR at 49K. And then I would call this 4 hour supply within this daily level. So what I'm kind of looking for to enter a short would be a bounce up into here, weekly supply, weekly SR, and that 4 hour level, get short up there with a stop loss here and take it down. Look at these equal lows, look at this previous Monday's low. So it would look something like this. All right. And once again, this is kind of contingent on the daily close, which is coming up in about an hour and 45 minutes. Like if this pumps right now before the daily close and we somehow close above like 49.3K, then I would hold off. I wouldn't want to be entering a short right then. But yeah, looking for the daily close to be around here. That would give us that rough looking daily candle. And then this outlook would be valid. I'd be looking to short a bounce at around 49.3K or 49K, somewhere in this general region. So let me clean this up a little bit. Does that make sense to everyone? Does it make sense why we're kind of looking for that short and what it would take to trigger it, things like that? Let me check the chat. Yeah, the white charts sometimes do hurt the eyes, huh? So hard to see. What's up, Democryptus? What's up, Mona? I am back. Good to see you too. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, Spaceman will give us the dark mode. That makes sense to everyone though? Kind of what we're looking for. And then I'll talk about a bullish scenario as well. I'm not trying to predict what we're gonna do, Tawana. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm not trying to predict what's gonna happen. I'm basically just planning for a scenario. If we get a bounce up to here, I will short it, looking for lower prices. That doesn't mean, oh, this is definitely gonna bounce and then go down. It's just an if-then scenario. Like this could just range here for a little and then drop, and I never get my entry, and then it's fine. Like that's part of trading. But basically we're planning for if-then scenarios. Yeah, the weekly level is also Monday's low, Cody. I had that on here. It's kind of hard to see. Right here, and right here, but I hid that because the chart was getting a little messy and I didn't want to confuse too many people. I guess I could probably take this off too. And I can take the gray off. So we just have these SR levels, the weekly open. There's some other confluence behind there, but that's kind of the main idea. Why wouldn't it go higher if it crosses the weekly SR though? Sorry if that's dumb. No, it's not a dumb question at all. Well, it's hard to like call one single line like the entire SR level. Like here you can see we stalled around this level, but it wasn't necessarily like respecting the line to the T with every single move. Here it was nice SR. And so I'm taking the recency of this with the weekly open and then this 4-hour level. So that's kind of like making up this trade idea. The fact that the weekly SR is there is more of a high time frame thing, helps me with high time frame bias, because if we look at the weekly chart, we have come into that, and if we reject here, I would say like, yeah, this weekly SR did its job, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna like chop around it a little bit. So the single line doesn't need to like cap price to the tick. It's more so this region. Could you explain your thought process to wanting to short it? I feel like I kind of have. I mean, we're at the most obvious resistance on the entire chart. So that's kind of the main premise behind it. The rest of this stuff is kind of figuring out how to find an entry. So with all that being said, if we do pull back, these are two areas I'm interested in looking for longs. I would look for something like this, and then we'd look to long, stop loss at whatever the low is, and run it back up. I'm not necessarily calling for this to completely nuke from here, but I do think we need to at least cool off a little bit. And if this setup never plays out, like if we don't sweep either of these levels and then start pushing up from there, I will start targeting a little lower down. But it doesn't mean, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I'm super confident we go to 40K or we go to 37 or 35. I want to be a little more realistic, and that's why these are kind of the main targets, and we're playing this level to level. So if it comes down here and it's looking really weak and it's not bouncing and it's just kind of like breaking down more, then we can start looking at lower targets, but there's really no point in talking about that too much right now because we are so far away from that. So I would say just consider 42K to 43K kind of the main target for this trade at the moment, and then I'll be looking for longs in this area if certain criteria are met. And then back to the bullish side, let's say this bounces, pulls back a little bit, and then just gets going again. I'd be interested in longs if we get above 50K, I would say. If we clean this chart up a little bit, and do this, we basically have like a bit of consolidation in here, right? And we took out the highs, we took out the lows. If this consolidates here and then breaks back above this level, then I would say, okay, this is looking bullish. This looks like it's going to push up further before a correction. So if we break back above this like 50K level right around here, that's when I would be back to looking for longs. But right now, I think a bounce to 49K is a short opportunity. If we get back above 50, I would reconsider. So it would need to get back above this level. And then we could also look for it to get back above this SR level that capped price so well right here. Do that, and we're looking for a bunch of longs. And at that point, this daily would not look as bad anymore. Like if it got back to here, that would mean we took out this low. Like, actually, this is a good way of looking at it. But let me go to a clean chart. Hey, that was a fun idea. I was almost right. So, if we go to a clean chart right here, we might just be consolidating here. We took out the high. We took out the low. Zoom in. If we get back above this level, look at the daily. That would be, oop, that looks ugly. If we break back above this on the daily, like that's bullish continuation. So that's kind of the invalidation for the bearish idea, at least for now. And that bearish divergence that I was talking to CBS about on Twitter, that might also get invalidated if we do have a strong push from here. One other thing I noticed that's like not something I use all the time, but I keep an eye on it. Let me hide this. Is this. So I use fibs a little bit for confluence every now and then, but I won't say they're like a main part of my system. However, I found it interesting that so within this price leg, we had a bounce and it went right to this 705, and now we are in this price leg, like this dump right here. I would say this is the price leg we're trading within, and we're right here. I thought that was kind of interesting, not taking a short just because of that, but I think that adds more to just more confluence, I guess you could say. So I guess recap, looking for a bounce to around 49K to short, targeting these two levels, and if we get there, we'll definitely start looking for longs at that point. Otherwise, if we break back out of this consolidation to the upside, we're in full bull mode for the time being. Mark says, isn't this just a SFP or a sweep on the H4 because we didn't close below the low so that it doesn't count as a broken structure? Some people use candle closes, some people use wicks. You know, if you zoom in, it definitely looks like a break-in structure. But that's not really, like, whether or not the 4-hour closes like this, I'm still looking to short the weekly open because of the higher time frame picture. The daily looks like distribution. This looks like it could be a top. But I think the more conservative play, if you want to wait for more confirmation, let's say it does this and then breaks down, you can short this bounce right here. So that would be the more conservative play. I think shorting the bounce here would be the more aggressive play. You do whatever you would like to do. You could say this is just a sweep, not a break-in structure. To me, it doesn't matter. So like, I don't really feel the need to argue about the little things like that because the premise for this idea is the daily picture. So, but yeah, aggressive short is here, conservative short is here, and if this just breaks up here, no harm, no foul. We're back to up only mode, at least for the time being. I don't currently have limits set for this. I usually like to watch to see how it goes. I think you could put a limit there if you want. I would probably ladder between like 48.9 and 49.4, something like that. Just this general region. But I'm probably gonna zoom in, see what we get. I would like to see us bounce up here early in the day, maybe consolidate, take out the high, and start to break down. So basically, this exact thing that we saw on the daily, give me something like that on the 15-minute or the 30-minute, whatever time frame you want to be watching it, and that would give me like more confidence in the short. So I like to kind of see it develop, but sometimes I will leave limits. Right now I don't have any in. All right. Can you do analysis on some RSI? I'm not the RSI guy. Like, I don't use RSI a ton. But I did, like, I think CBS is the best resource for RSI on Twitter. Oh, crap. But a very brief explanation. It's only candle closes that matter, so it's nice to look at it on a line chart. We're consistently making higher highs here, whereas RSI is making lower highs. That would be a bearish divergence. So that's what I am talking about when I'm talking about the RSI, but like, I'm not gonna give a lesson on RSI or anything like that, because it's not like a staple of my strategy, and I think there are people who use it more who are more qualified to do that, like CBS. No problem, Mark. All right, Spaceman, what do you think?
All right, I'm actually, I'm here. I'm watching as well. So,
Yeah, no worries.
Love to be informed.
You hold on, let me see. As long as there's no other question. I mean, I feel like that was a pretty conclusive breakdown, I think that's the word I'm looking for, of Bitcoin. Can you talk about like a distribution / accumulation top differences? I wouldn't really say I'm a Wyckoff or Wyckoff, however you pronounce it, trader. So once again, I'm probably not the most qualified for that, but I look for distribution / accumulation with like sweeps, and this daily picture kind of looks like distribution, but I'm not like trading based off of that. So I mean, long story short, I don't really have much to add. The key resistance I'm talking about is these two levels, 49 and 50. This region, like if you just look at a blank chart, somewhere in here is the obvious floor from when we were consolidating to when we broke down. This general area. But all right, I think that's enough from me. I will pass the mic to Spaceman. I'm gonna get his screen on here, and we are going to hear about some of his indicators and his current view on the market.
Okay, is that is that clear? I might be able to.
I think it's going to be 720p, which is kind of the best we can do, but let me pull it over here.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it's not going to be perfect, but given the our current options, I think it's works the best.
Yeah.
And let me hide some stuff. There we go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Well, just like some things were on the screen. I don't need the two sponsor logos taking up too much space.
Fair enough.
All right. Go for it.
Yeah, so just to start, this is a very limited thing. I don't plan to do many of these, but because it's my first ever stream, if after me describing everything today, you feel like signing up, there's a specific Trader Cos discount code. This should last about 24 hours, and I'll make sure of that. So if you do want to sign up after today, you Trader Cos viewers will get a discount, because I myself am one of you guys. So it's pretty cool for me to be here. And I just want to give a thank you back to Cos and all of his viewers. I really appreciate you guys giving me this chance to show off my work. So I'll move on to the charts itself. You know, enough with all this promotion garbage. We'll get into how I actually use the indicators and some mistakes I see with some of my indicators. But before we get into that, I did want to point out just very quickly some confluences that I see when I'm actually using my own indicator. for potential top signals. So I actually thought we would probably not succeed in breaking this so quickly. It's basically our first proper test of this. So when you're at these points, the footprints charts are very useful for seeing trapped traders. So this will be a very brief explanation of how I use this. Technically delta print candles. That's what I've just named it now. And then I'll get into like setups I take, because I actually trade intraday, I don't actually swing. Because I like taking quick in and outs. I feel more comfortable. I don't feel exposed to the market. For example, if some bearish news comes out and I'm long, I'll have a probability of getting exposed to that over a swing. So personally, I'm quite in and out of my trades when I take them. But this is the same logic that I use when taking these trades. So to go forward with this, I'd like to point out at around the 50k level, when we got here, you can see the potential for trap traders occurring. So this is actually here, the peak of the move. So I will actually make this, actually I think if I wanted to do that, I have to change the chart layout. Anyway, we'll carry on with this. So this is the 1 hour chart. This is also 1 hour candles being printed. Going into this 50k level, you can see that if you take account for this low here, this low that led to the next high, within the same 1 hour, we technically did break market structure. Now, if you drill down to the low time frame, you would see that. But I don't really feel like I need to. I'm in my head, I'm like, okay, we just took out that low. There's potential for us to have a market structure break. So I'm looking now for potential shorts, especially because we're at resistance. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, what can I use? So this is kind of why I made footprints. I was looking for trades, and occasionally I'd be like, how can I spot a fake out? Because there would be situations with my intraday trades as well where I'm like, how do I know the difference between a fake out and a continued momentum shift to potentially breaking 50k on the first try? And for me, this is these deltas. So there is an ask and bid mode akin to deltas, footprints and how they work. But deltas is the easiest way to view it. And what you see here is we have a delta VPOC. So it's the place of highest delta where it's the difference between buying and selling. And at this point, you can see both of them are in the wick. Now, to me, this indicates there's a lot of trap traders, as in there's people who are FOMOing the 50k region, thinking, cool, we're going to break 50k. And as you know, there's a lot of retail traders who like to long the top and short the bottom. I don't know why they do that. It's probably because they're new, and that's okay. Like, we all learn. And it's not even always just retail. A lot of people make this mistake. I sometimes make this mistake as well. Like, I am retail, but I mean, everyone occasionally makes this mistake. But I wanted to stop that, and that's why I made this indicator. So seeing these guys start to FOMO around the top, for me, is indication that, okay, we might have some exhaustion coming in. And that's when I'm like, okay, how do I look for a short? And that's when I'm starting to picture, cool, market structure break. We've got this confluence. Let me look for a short opportunity. So for me, I would start shorting near the high, just because if I'm trading very low time frames, I'm not trying to get my invalidation super high up. That's not good for me. I'm putting my invalidation just like a bit above the wick. So if I'm invalidated, I'm not losing too much money. I'm setting my ask and bids at the right places, just so I don't lose out when I'm getting stopped out or anything like that. So in this case, you would start laddering some of your orders here going up. So you would have got filled partially, and you would have seen that things started to break down. Now, if you wanted to play it safe, which is usually how I do it, I go on the 5 minute, I take quick intraday trades. I look for RSI complements. You'll see I have RSI here, but I'm going to explain that soon. So going into this bit, what I would have done to actually take my trades, because I didn't actually short this region particularly. I took a small short here, and that's mainly because this is the previous weekly high as well. So it's a good amount of confluence. I know market structure is 100% broken down as we lost this level. I'm looking for confluences as I go there. And similar things, I'm always looking for like deltas and stuff coming in. So I'll clear up some things with the key levels because I just mentioned it, but this was just a brief introduction to how delta print candles could have helped you if you were longing the top of 50k, and God forbid, I hope no one did, because I know a lot of Twitter quite often get very euphoric at the top, and it's kind of funny. I don't know why that is the case. Maybe it's just engagement, or maybe it's just because everyone's excited that they're making so much money because they've done well and they've longed the bottom. But because of that, a lot of people also long the top. They see these tweets and they're like, okay, I need to FOMO in, and these deltas are exactly what you can use to be like, okay, I don't want to be one of those guys who end up at the top of the wick, being the delta at the exact top. I don't want to be one of these guys. So if I start seeing this, I'm like, I'm not taking a trade going long here. That's very stupid. I could be the guy that gets caught out. And as you see, as price started to move away, and price never invalidated this potential setup. If it made a new high, it could have been invalidation. But because we didn't, we're aware, as we see, selling starts to increase. These guys are all trapped. And then as positions unwind, we start having a down move. So yeah, let me explain some basic mistakes that people seem to make with my indicators. And this one's a free one, SpaceManBTC key level. It plots the weekly opens, the highs, the lows, the yearly opens, the yearly high, low, the quarterlies, the dailies, and the 4 hours. These are things that I think every trader should have, and that's why it's free. It's open source. Someone started the base code for this one. So 100% open source, so anyone can load this up, so you don't have to pay, you don't have to be a member. Load this up. Honestly, it will change your life. In my opinion, this is probably the best free indicator you can have, just because it's pure price action stuff that is gonna make it apparently obvious when we've lost a level, which you can see here. We've lost the previous weekly high and we came back to retest it. You could have got your short there, and that's not actually a bad trade to take, even if you didn't have all these footprints and market profile overlays and so on and so forth.
And then one thing I would add really quick, like for those of you that watch a lot of my streams, you probably recognize a lot of these terms that are on these levels. Like you guys know I love my Mondays range, my opens, my highs and lows, things like that. So with this it can just automate a lot of the things that I sometimes like to do manually, but I also have like a chart theme set up, whatever, where everything else is hidden. It just has these levels, and sometimes it's nice for me to have just like a clear view of just some important levels that I'm watching. So you guys probably recognize a lot of those and know how useful they can be if you've been a long time viewer.
It's funny that he actually Cause actually jumped in. Thank you for jumping in, by the way. It's part of the reason I kept updating this was because I saw Cause and Main and everyone using these, and I was like, you know what, I still use this myself. I had this other version that I was using, but I might as well update the free public version, and this is the one I use now because it's got way more levels, because I kept updating it, and as a result it's extended quite a bit. So when it was first out, it didn't have the Monday range, but I realized I was plotting these anyway because I used to watch Trader Cause's stream. I still watch him, by the way. Because I watched Trader Cause's stream, I used to realize the importance of the Monday range. And you can see it's actually in line with the previous daily low right now, because obviously that was the Monday low. So these things, like, it helps you build confidence. You're like, okay, cool. I've got to keep these in mind. I've got to pay attention to these levels because they're quite important. And if you've watched Cause's streams, you know exactly what we're talking about. You see reactions here all the time, as you would have seen here, and as you see, as we lost the daily open, we did come back to retest and we lost it again. But yeah, let's start clearing up some things that my members ask me, free or paid, and they show me charts, so I'll quickly hide these. But yeah, they show me their charts, and sometimes I notice they've made this mistake, so I thought I'd clear it all up today, because if I'm going through my indicators, I should also go through my free ones. There's no reason to just make it premium only. So something I've realized is a lot of people will load this for the first time and be like, oh look, there was a great short here and we could have covered here because this is, I don't know, like support of some sort, right? That's not actually accurate, because this is plotting the previous weekly high from the previous week's open. So you couldn't actually short that yet because that had not yet formed. And when the weekly open lines up, so you can see this is the weekly open, this is where the line starts plotting. I know this may seem basic for some people, but you know, if there's some confusion, we should always aim to clear it up. You can't short this previous weekly high until the new week has opened. So now that you've loaded it and you know that this is just plotting that, you can just keep that in mind. Going forward, you see, okay, cool, we pumped above it, we lost a level, maybe we should start looking for shorts at the previous weekly high. So this is genuinely the easiest and probably the most useful free indicator, in my opinion, out there. I only really use my indicators in RSI. So I might be a little bit biased, but if you guys do want to check this one out, completely free, once again, SpaceManBTC key level. And I hope this helped with potential mistakes that some people would have. So now I'm going to drill down a little bit. By the way, if anyone has any questions, Cause, if you want to interrupt me, go ahead. Because I talk quite fast, like I talk very, very rapidly.
I'll let you know if anyone says anything in the chat that I think is worth answering, like right then. So I'll let you know.
Cool. All right, so I'm gonna go into something that I actually was watching today just before the stream. So today I was actually, usually I'm coding almost all day every day, and that's why I'm like occasionally between testing indicators, I take a quick intraday trade to test the thesis. I'm in, I'm out. And today I took a break from that because obviously I was preparing for the stream and I thought, you know what, let me calm myself down, let me do some more chill things. And I was playing some games with my friends, and then someone tweeted a chart at me, and it's one of my members actually. And so I said I'd explain this on a stream for him. So let's open it like this. So he tweeted a footprint chart, my footprint chart, of course, the delta print candles, and he said that buyers are basically, short sellers and stuff are basically screwed here, blah blah blah. And he was indicating upside, and I replied basically saying, I can see where you've got that idea from, but I'm not personally taking that trade. And where I would have taken that trade, but this is basically when I think I actually fell asleep for a bit. But I'll explain the thesis behind why this would have been a better trade as opposed to this one, even though they both led to some upside. The reason I would say that the initial trade idea that he had was wrong was because if you see where this tweet is, you see it did actually go down from basically when I was like, yeah, I don't think that was the correct trade. So we see that it goes down. I kept this on here just so I can mark where I tweeted this and to show there was some reasoning for me to be like, okay, you're almost there, but not entirely. And so I'll clear that up now. So what happened here, and I'll just delete this now so it's not on the screen for too long, is this is roughly where he was talking about the delta ladders, and he was saying, okay, cool, they look like they're trapped, and he had a decent reason for that. There was some delta V pocket at the bottom, and it looked like it was potentially forming a scenario where people would be trapped by the end of the candle. So this is something I will add as a feature, because currently obviously it's plotting on the 1 minute to add a greater display, because obviously you don't have much display functionality in PineScript, so you use the low time frames to expand it, and then you have a bunch of 1 minute candles to use as just spacing, and so I use the 1 minute candles as my spacing. So it doesn't really show on this countdown when the 1 hour candle ends. So if you go to delta print candles, you can choose your candle time frame. There will be a lot more candle time frames coming really soon. I'll get to that like at the end, like what my indicators, the future updates and stuff are, but it doesn't show necessarily where the 1 hour is going to close. So you have to keep that in mind yourself for now. That will be the next update. I'll include that 100%. And coming towards the end of the close, you can see that the delta actually was no longer at the bottom indicating trapped shorters or strength of buying, but instead they were the ones who were offside because they longed the top of these wicks. So I tweeted him around here, if you remember, this point here, and you can see here on these two 1 hour candles, and this is the 5 minute by the way, these two 1 hour candles, that they were no longer the people in play. Like these guys weren't the bottom shorters. Instead, these guys were the people who were trapped. And at this point, I was like to him, that doesn't look like a good trade for those reasons. I don't think these guys are the ones who are trapped now. I think it's these top longers of this specific candle. Now, when I'm talking top longers, I'm usually talking to a swing high, swing low. But when I'm looking for a long setup, I'm keeping in mind the most recent candles and if these guys are the ones who are going to be stopped out. And in this case, that's exactly what happened. So all these top longers here for these specific 1 hour candles, they actually would have been the ones who lost out on this trade if they like closed the position at loss, because we did actually end up moving down from pretty much from the moment I tweeted him saying, oh, this isn't exactly what I would have done, but close. So what you have to keep out for is the closes. Now, I know not everyone likes closes, but when we're talking about these prints, you have to make sure that this is the final print, because of course, if the delta does change, you risk being the wrong one in the trade. So I will update this soon. So it's like, okay, you got 1 hour till this one closes, 59 minutes, 40 minutes, and so on. So you can, if you want to play a little bit more aggressive and you see there's only 5 minutes left to trade and there's not much volume coming in towards the end of this candle, okay, how long, that will allow you to play more aggressive. And the reason this trade setup was actually a little bit better, and this is actually one I would have traded, but I genuinely just fell asleep, and then when I woke up, I just started preparing for the stream. So I actually had things to talk about. And this is something I've tweeted multiple times, and it's some of the trades I've actually shown on my Twitter thread is basically whenever we've taken out a low, basically, or coming close towards this low. So this support area here, I've marked them both out, both on the 5 minute and the 1 hour delta candles on the right. You can see here that here is where the greatest selling happened. So previously, this is something I've always wondered. I was like, how on earth do I make sure that I'm not longing here, this region, but I'm longing here where it's more safe. I couldn't figure that out, and this is the weakness that I had, and this is the weakness I wanted to solve. So I made delta print candles. That's legit the reason I made it, because I was like, damn, like occasionally I feel like I'm longing at the wrong time. I wish I could figure out when's the best time to long or when's the best time to short. I don't want to be the guy who gets trapped. I want to figure out who's trapped. And this is exactly what that does. So I've seen, cool, at this point, these guys are trapped. Now, if you're aggressive, also another thing, I'll just highlighting to him that these weren't actually divergences. I actually do use RSI divergences. I learned from Cold Blooded Shiller as well. He's great. His streams are great. But I'll delete these now because they're not really useful. But I'm like, cool, these guys are trapped. What's my other confluences here? So we've deviated a little bit below just these couple lows here, and we've reclaimed it on this candle. That's deviation. It's they speak about a lot in Bob Volman, Understanding Price Action. So if you want to read that book, it was recommended to me by Cuban Tobacco. Great book, by the way, just pointing that out there. But yeah, so I saw, cool, deviation, that's proof of demand. Like, you know, we're coming back into this area here. I wouldn't have longed this because I don't play too aggressive, and what I would have done is actually start setting my limits. So I would have set some limits here, and if I got filled, my invalidation would have been just a bit below, and because I'm limiting in, my average is getting lower and lower, so I would have got a partial fill probably on this one because it didn't go too low, and that's okay, because that's how I trade. You don't have to trade like this. You can use, as you can see, the delta prints at 50k to like catch a swing trade, and there's 4-hour candles as well, there's daily candles as well. But personally, I was like, cool, for me, if I'm taking a trade, and I've done this a few times on my thing, I'm gonna make that a little bit more often so you guys can see me do it, besides just the stream, because I know not everyone can tune in for the stream. Set your limits here, start staggering them in. And I personally would have just exited pretty much straight at resistance. So I would probably missed a little bit of this move, but if I'm scalping intraday, I'm not trying to get 100% of the move. I'm trying to be safe. And for me, that's legit all I need. I'm going to catch this trade from here, ride it up to there, I'm out. Yeah, I might have missed that, but because I missed that, I didn't expose myself to this downside risk and getting stopped out for less. So for me, that's pretty much the main focus of delta print candles. And something you'll recognize quite often is when we come towards the lows, you can see this battle of traders just like trying to short the low or long the bottom or so on and so forth. And you'll see when someone's trapped or not. And that's highlighted by the color of these blocks. Now you can change the coloring just in case anyone's interested. You can make this white if you want. You can make it whatever. I'm going to make this customizable so this can be thicker, because I've had some people complain that they can't see that. It's like, I mean, not that they can't see it, but it's just not easy to see at a glance. And because of that, I actually have delta ladder candles. It's the same thing pretty much, and as you can see, it highlights the same areas, but instead of displaying all the data, it's just a visual representative. Now this one will have some automation coming to it soon, where it will decide relative strength for you, and all of these indicators, by the way, are on the same package. So if you subscribe, you get all of my premium indicators and all future ones as well. But yeah, so if you struggle and you don't like the look of a billion things happening at once, and you do believe you can rely without all that extra confluence of the data, you can just use delta ladders. So what I do actually keep delta ladders on. So I'll keep it on and I'll quickly scan through my charts, and I'm like, okay, cool, this looks like it could be interesting. I turn it off, turn this one back on. As you can see, they're highlighting the same thing. If I just turn that off, turn it back on, they're actually highlighting the exact same thing, and you can use the numbers afterwards to give you some confidence. So that's what I do. I keep both on, just so I'm like, cool, I'm scrolling through my charts, I need the more simple one that's not ugly, and I can go through. So yeah, that's basically how I use the delta prints. And there's keep these on because it's a ton of fun just to have them on. I actually love watching this do its thing. If you notice, quite often whenever someone's trapped, the next candle does lead to some upside. It doesn't mean it will swing up, and that's exactly why I'm a intraday, just like quick in and out trader. I don't trust myself yet to swing as frequently as like professionals in my opinion, like Cos and Main and all these guys. I'm good at what I'm good at, and that's what I'm gonna stick to, and that's how I'm describing how to use it. But going forward now, I'll talk to you guys about market profile.
Hey,
so market profile,
real quick, Spaceman, what does, out of curiosity, what does the daily footprint look like? Because from my like PA perspective, like it looks to me like people were longing that high and kind of got trapped there. So I'm wondering if the footprint charts are saying the same thing, or if I'm just full of bogus.
No, you're 100% correct. So if you see here on the 50k candle, the day we kind of went for that high,
that's the daily one, right, that we swept, or the one that did sweep.
Yeah, exactly. So all these guys are now trapped.
Gotcha.
Or at the case of, because this is red, it
Yeah,
would
those are
indicate high
shorts.
level. Yeah, so that means these guys are like piling in short, and all these guys are in profit. So if you wanted to see a good confluence or entering a swing, you know how you said they might clear the 50K?
Yeah.
Um, if we lose that again and then we see a bunch of green, then in my personal opinion, I would short that with some
Which
additional confluences.
which is Monday's high, I think. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that
this
high
would
at
be
50.6 is. Yeah, I mean, maybe we ranged for a little bit more earlier this week before coming down. That's something I could see happening as well. But
yeah.
okay, good to know.
Yeah, so it is actually there. Now, one thing to note is if you change time frames, you will see some differentiation. I have some standardized settings that I recommend, and that will change soon because I'm actually working on a real-time component for this. So currently, it does use some of the LTF data, but I want to shift from that eventually. So it's pure real-time data. So for every single tick, it is going to be a lot more accurate. When that comes out, it should be less effective to see random bits of data, but you'd have to leave the chart on because the real-time data components of PineScript, they refresh as soon as you turn off the chart or you close your browser. So that component, yeah. So that component will be very useful for me because I quite often just leave my charts on all day. But for some, not so much. That's why I released this version first, and I recommend some settings. You can experiment as much as you want. For me, 1 minute 60. That's my cup of tea. Like, this is where I do really well, and that's what I focus on. So because if you went up back here, you could see as well.
You could see the buyers got trapped on like a lower time, right?
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Just to clarify though, it's not a perfect one-to-one, but as I add this real-time component, it will be very, very close. And I think that's why I said it's probably my favorite indicator right now, because whenever I see people getting trapped, I'm like, oh, that used to sometimes be me. It's no longer me, and that just feels crisp because I'm like, cool. I know what I'm doing. I don't have to be that guy who gets stuck all the time. I could be the guy who counter trades these guys.
Right. Because right now, I mean, the only places to get a footprint chart are like EXO or Sierra charts, right?
Yeah, and I think the main
pretty expensive for like someone who's just getting into it, right?
Yeah,
as far as I know.
And not even just expense, because this is actually priced, in my opinion, slightly differently, and the reason for that is because this works with every single coin. So you'll see on some softwares they won't have access for every single coin. This will work on every single altcoin that has some sort of liquidity to it. So if you go to ETH or Sol or whatever, you'll see the same thing. It will load up and you can get your prints available. So it's like, as you can see here, people got a little bit trapped. It necessarily didn't sweep the low, so I don't know if I would have taken that one because it's quite a big difference. But they got trapped, and then we had a decent move up. And if you're scalping intraday and you got a swing to the weekly open, that's just beautiful. You're gonna get a decent amount of trade, a decent amount of P&L from that, in my opinion. Especially if you're in and out. That's one thing I want to specify. I'm in and out, so if you want to learn how to swing with this, go for it. You can do it. I've seen people do it. But yeah, that's just one of the main selling points is the fact that it works with everything. It's on TradingView. It's compatible with all TradingView indicators. It's so easy to use, in my opinion. So this is basically why I made it. But yeah,
it makes it a lot simpler than EXO or Sierra.
Yeah. The approachability is actually something I got a lot of people thanking me for. Not to sound like, oh, these guys thank you, I'm a genius. Nothing like that, but just I really appreciated these guys reaching out to me, because obviously I actually made this as well because I didn't want to use those softwares. So having people from those softwares, both Sierra and EXO, being like, oh, this has been a game changer because I've got everything in one place, was so cool to me, because it was like, oh, like, you guys see what I wanted, and it's actually helping.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty impressive. Like, we haven't seen anyone else do it, so you're kind of like the first mover with it, basically.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. It's fun. But yeah, so now I'll just go ahead. Oh, I just unplugged my headphones. Just 1 second. I talk with my hands, so sometimes you just smack my headphones out of my hands. So now I'm just going to quickly go into market profile. So what I actually do is I have this key levels on the 30-minute time frame. And the reason I use the 30-minute time frame is just because market profiles on the daily are typically used on a 30-minute time frame. And once again, typically you can experiment. I know a lot of order flow traders will probably not like I said that you can experiment, because obviously there's a way about doing everything. And these guys, there's a few like Abe and Stingray. They are incredible at teaching what they teach. So if you want to check them out, feel free to. They're very nice to me, and they are teaching me a lot as I go along as well. But I made the market profile so I could learn. So the whole point of this process of me trying to like be like, hey guys, this is how I use it, is just for how I use it, but as well as I learn and get better at it, I'll post more videos and be like, guys, you can use it like this. This is what I've learned. This is what you can do. And I'll keep updating the market profile. So a good example, if I've loaded the correct one, is I've started to add poor highs and lows to this. I'm not sure if this is the correct one. Yeah, here we go. So this is actually a new feature that's coming out hopefully tomorrow, and I'm gonna try add tails into this, or excesses into this soon. But if you see here, so yeah, this is coming soon. Poor highs and lows, and now this is added in because I learned about it recently. Actually, obviously I knew of it, but I didn't really delve into it too much. So I was like, you know what, I'll add the feature as I learn about it. I've learned about it. I've added it in. But yeah, let's talk about market profile now. So something I quite like about market profile, and not everyone will 100% agree with my way of using this, is I use it for confluences. So where I would have taken this trade and exited, and it's also the key 30-minute resistance area. I knew this would happen because obviously the market profile is developing over the day, because this has the developing day market profile. It's the only one to be able to do this right now. I knew this would happen, so the POC might have changed. So I actually took a screenshot. Is this the correct one? No, I believe it's this one. So if you see here, at this point when you would have entered this trade, another confluence for exiting this trade would have been the value area low. So let's say you're scalping each day, you're like, cool, this is 30-minute resistances. You can see here along this line, there's like so much going on. At this point where resistance was, there was also a value area low on the market profile. And now that's obviously market profile is more than just support and resistance. But for me, like the easiest way to explain it and the easiest way for me to use it with just quick intraday trades for me right now is looking out for this value area high, value area low, naked POCs, developing POCs, and so on for additional complements. So that's one thing I've spotted out, was when I came up to this, when it came up to the price came up to this region, we were actually at a value area low. So if you are scalping, it probably makes sense to exit as opposed to risk being run out again or just closing for less profit. Just exit, take your profit, re-enter another trade, because there's constant trade. It's crypto, it's on 24/7. You'll find another trade, take your profit, especially if you're scalping. Please just take your profit. I don't know how to reiterate that. To be fair, I used to do that all the time. I used to enter a scalp and be like, you know what, I can hold this for a swing. And then it was until I started making these tools where I was like, you know what, I think I'm trading a little bit off and I can make it better. And so that's one of the things I use for my market profile. It's just a little bit more confluence, but obviously there's more to it. And then let's say you enter the value area low, you can aim for a swing up for the value area high or developing POC. So if I turn on the market profile right now, you could have seen we actually, also tick size, daily, yep, all settings are fine. You can see actually this developing POC. So the coloring here is just because both of these are both technically the same TPO count. So they are both technically POCs. I might uniform this soon just because I liked actually having both, but I realized it can be a bit confusing. Is you would have seen here that we're actually sort of forming support on this developing POC. So if you are intraday scalping and you see deviation reclaim, and if you've read that book by Bob Volman, I believe it's Bob Volman, you'll see that could be some cause for some bullishness, and maybe we will break out of this and target another area of resistance. So for me, market profile has been very helpful. It's got a lot to it. So I do recommend if you're brand new, cause you don't mind me like linking to another resource to you.
Nah, go for it, man.
Yeah, something I recommend is tradingriot.com.
Oh yeah.
/market profile. So trading riot is
shouting out Abe's blog all the time for his supply and demand one. People ask for that all the time.
Yeah, Abe is the GOAT. I love this guy. If you want to learn a good starting point for market profile, honestly, I couldn't recommend a better place. And the reason I say that is because I actually got inspired to make market profile because I read this blog. It was literally, I remember it was like 2 a.m. at night. I was like, you know what, I'm a little bit awake. I can't sleep. Let me read some trading resources. And I came across this blog and I was like, oh, cool. I've actually heard about market profile a couple of times. Let me read into it. And I read into it and I was like, damn, I want to learn this. And then I made market profile, and that's how the tool came into fruition. So yeah, if you do want to learn like all the more advanced stuff, I won't try to go through it myself today because I'm still improving on that stuff and I don't want to like throw anyone off. Definitely read that, read this blog. And if you're interested in signing up, once again, you get a 5% discount if you use the name Trader Cause. Just as a thank you for having me on, cause I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, like seriously, it was cool of you to have me on. And once again, thank you to everyone, free or not, or paid or whatever. I appreciate you all giving me this chance. Like, I basically posted this market profile, not sure what to expect, and it was a great feedback from the community. And then obviously, as I released Delta Print, more and more people were like, "Damn, this guy's indicators are cool," and I was like, "Thanks, man, that's awesome."
Yeah, and then another like to take your market profile Ling to the next level. I think Abe is a great beginner resource, but then Sting and Tommy have a really good market profile course. So
it's actually awesome that you mentioned that. Pure coincidence, by the way.
Sting's the homie, so I always plug Sting when I can.
I'm actually partnered with Sting. So that's exactly why I partnered with Stingray. He and me spoke, and I was like, "Yo, I'm learning market profile. I want to learn more." And he has the advanced course. So here, if you go here and you use the code SpaceManBTC, because it's me and him are both partnered, he is teaching you guys. So the beauty of that is he knows everything about it. I'm good at it. I'm getting better at it, and I will continue to improve. And I'm actually using this course myself, but he knows everything about it. So this course covers literally like the basics of everything going upwards. So you will learn more of the advanced concepts. And depending on how fast you guys learn, you never know, you'll probably be better at using my own indicators than me. So that's kind of funny. The great, actually interesting thing about that is my Discord group has a lot of, it's starting to get more active, and a lot of the time I'll be like asleep or I'm coding the indicator. I'm like, cool, let me update my market profile and let me update my delta prints. And someone's like, oh, I took this sick trade. And I'm like, I would have taken the same trade if I was able to, but I'm coding the indicator so we can keep taking better trades. But I don't mind. And the reason I don't mind is because I'm ultimately aiming to make better algorithms. So I have a few and they're pretty decent. But as I add more and more indicators and as I release them, and the reason I test them so thoroughly is because I want to see their performances in the ideas I have. So once I've got these ideas clear cut and I've tested all my indicators, and I'm gonna release so many, and I'll talk about the updates in just a sec. The goal is to have algos that trade for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'll still be doing it like myself on and off and stuff like that. But I'm a programmer since I was like literally 11 years old. So for me, I like coding, and coding is fun for me. So I will 100% be releasing algos in the future. So keep out an eye for them, because I think you'll like them. Because I think, yeah, I think I'm exciting, cool, and I at least hope I do. Yeah, does anyone have any quick questions before I go into potential updates and what you guys can expect if you sign up?
I think I saw one just asking what language you use to code it. It might just be whatever TradingView uses, but if you want to touch on that very briefly. I saw a question about that earlier.
Yeah, so I learned how to code in a billion different languages. Okay, obviously not a billion, but a handful of different languages. But I'm coding this in PineScript. So if you want to make indicators, I don't recommend starting with PineScript. I recommend starting with something proper. So start with something like Java, Python, C#. Once you build your foundation there, picking this up would be easier. A lot of people have issues coding with PineScript. I'm very lucky to say that because I've been coding for a while, it wasn't too bad. For me, I was like, okay, cool, this is another language. It has some limitations, that's fine. Everything has some limitations. The whole point is, what can I do with those limitations? And for me, I was like, okay, cool, I don't mind PineScript. I can utilize it because I've coded in so many different languages. Yeah, that's my best advice for you guys. If you want to learn how to code, definitely start elsewhere and then come here and then make something cool. Yeah, okay, so going forward, yeah, so what's coming for SpaceManBTC members? Well, SpaceManBTC members, you obviously get all future indicators, and I don't want to reveal too much because I want to focus on updating these indicators first before I release more and more indicators, because I want to keep them a secret, obviously. Really, I don't want to leak too much alpha too soon. But going forward, like I said, tomorrow the aim, or Thursdays, the aim is to release poor highs and lows, and this is already done. and then I'm going to release buy and sell tails. So this is basically just excesses. It shows strength of the supply or demand, and it's usually at the end of a market profile. So that is the next update for market profile. So all my market profile users, rejoice, you're getting hopefully 2 features this week. If not, you'll get 1 and then 1 next week as well. And then for delta print candles, you guys will get much more customizability, so thickness of this delta VPOC. And I'm thinking I might include a pure VPOC. So right now delta VPOC is basically the difference between the bid and ask, so the amount of shorters and buyers, longers basically. And I'm going to make it so you guys have pure VPOC too, which could be very useful. It's something No Coiner showed me. Maybe I can pull that up for you guys. And he sort of talked about it, but it's something that I realized could be actually very useful. Let's see. Also, if you guys want to follow someone cool, he's actually very nice and very, very friendly. Let's see if I can find it. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. Yeah, here. So he actually talks about it, and he talks about liquidity voids in places where the market kind of just sort of ran up, and you can see here he's using the VPOC as potentially another area of support, and then he uses these liquidity voids as areas where the market could likely just quickly tap into to fill any gaps where it was just disregarding anything. I think that's pretty cool. I myself didn't even think to do it like that, but because of this reason, I wanted to add pure VPOC, so pure volume profile. Point of control, sorry.
Couple quick questions from the chat. One of them from Maxim. TradingView doesn't provide tick history. How do you get the right delta?
That I can't actually reveal, otherwise it's too much of an alpha leak. I would say this. If you realize
that's the secret.
Yeah, that's the secret. I can't really go into that too much. But as I release more and more updates, it'll be maybe a bit more obvious, because I'm gonna do like some real-time stuff, and you guys will get an idea of how this stuff works. But
cool.
It's just to clarify one thing as well. It's accurate for what it does. I've had so many pure footprint users actually come and tell me that they love it because of that reason. And yeah, it's been a blast to have that feedback, because that's one of my worries as well. I was like, I'm doing some maths here to kind of calculate all of this stuff.
Yeah. How
accurate is it? And then having them say, yeah, dude, this is sick. I was like, okay, cool. That puts all the stress off of me. I know it works. It's good.
Right.
That's calm. That's all I need.
And then from Silver Static, was curious if he was going to be able to make tick charts rather than time-based charts with the update ?
Do you know what's actually hilarious? I'm considering. I'm not sure about delta print. I probably will get there. I'm considering one of my future indicators to figure out a pure tick-based system. So I know there's some sort of like tick-based chart kind of out right now, but I'm trying to figure out a way for us to all get tick-based chart trading system available on TradingView. So I am actually trying to code that soon. It's just as I'm updating delta prints, delta ladder, market profile, you guys can imagine.
You got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, but I will feel. I'm not to sound cocky, but I've already started planning it, and I'm already like, wait, that would work. That's basically how all of them started. Market profile, I was coding it in the middle of the night, and then I was like, wait, that makes sense. And then as soon as I think that, I'm just like confident it will work. So I will get there eventually.
Good to know. And then one last one, Hybrid Shadow says, is there any way to change the TradingView account that has access to your indicators? Currently on trial, may get another trial using a friend's info. I'm sure you'd be able to work with him, but just thought I'd, like, if he's in the Discord, you can probably figure it out. But
yeah, just DM me and we'll talk about it.
And yeah, I sent Spaceman's Twitter, the link to his Twitter, a couple messages above, so Hybrid Shadow or anyone else that doesn't or that wants to know where to find his Twitter, and subsequently the link to his Discord or whatever other resources, you can go that way.
Yeah, I welcome everyone to come through. Even if you don't want to buy these indicators, fine, that's perfectly fine. Jump in the chat. Let's chat. Let's like talk about market structures. Talk about how you want to trade. That I'm purely welcoming to everyone. It doesn't have to just be Spaceman members. If you want to just chill as well, that's cool too. We welcome everyone. It's a fun chat, and everyone's very welcoming. That's the great bit.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think those
were all the questions that I saw, like, while you've been doing your bit. So Let's see. I'm just.
Cause, quick question actually. Could I
so-
clip this and upload it on my YouTube? Because I get constant people asking me, yo, how do you do it? And I'm like, I will explain this on Coz's stream.
Yeah, of
but
course.
it'll be, yeah, cool. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Vinny, welcome back, Kaz. Thank you, bro. It's good to be back. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this joint stream with Spaceman. Hope you found some of the information interesting regarding the footprint stuff, the market profile stuff, all that. And yeah, I mean, the levels indicator is completely free, and I like to use it to just like get a clear view of charts with levels that I am working with. Just, I mean, you guys know my charts sometimes get a little messy, so sometimes it's nice to just flick that indicator on, hide all my drawings and everything else, and kind of get a clear view. Late to the stream. Oh, no worries, man. They're always uploaded afterwards. But yeah, Spaceman, you got anything else?
Just a big thank you once again, Coz. I appreciate you having me on. It was fun.
Yeah, of course, man. It was a good time.
Cheers.
So, talk to you guys all soon. I'll be streaming again on Thursday. Maybe in the future we'll do another collab if Spaceman has something else he wants to show, or let me know. Like, if you guys want us to do another one, then we definitely can do that at some point. One other question before we go. Someone's asking Maxime about a mid-range on Monday's range. I'm sure you could probably put that in there pretty quickly, but that was just one of the questions.
Yeah, so I will get around to updating this one. My priority is the premium ones, just because obviously I have a lot of members that I have to be like, cool, you guys wanted this, I'll add it in. But on the next update, I will add hopefully mid-range for your Monday, just because you mentioned it. No one's actually mentioned it before, so I'll try to add that for you, and I'll try to add an initial balance as well. So keep an eye out for that.
Cool. All right, well,
cool.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Spaceman. Appreciate you all tuning in, and we will chat on